And the jurors have now left the courtroom as of 11:28 a.m. So we're in standby mode.
And we have an answer to Katie's question or discussion about the evidence. It's very primitive. There is one laptop that will be given to the jury. And you had the judge asking, are there any volunteers who can handle the laptop? And 2 jurors said, I can. So they're going to be given a laptop to bring up the evidence. And also in terms of jury notes, in New York, you can be reversed as a judge if you handle jury notes improperly. The judge has to mark it as a court exhibit. Both sides have to be there. He has to read the note verbatim into the record. He discusses with the attorneys, how do you want me to answer this? He doesn't have to listen to them, but he has to get their input. And then the jury gets called back in. And then once again, the judge has to read it verbatim to make sure this is accurate. And then that's how it's handled. So if it's not handled that way, a conviction can be reversed. So the judge can't wing it. You have to read it into the record. You have to make it a court exhibit.
You know, Charles, I just want your thoughts on what we're living through right now. I mean, let's step back for a second and think about what it is that all of us together have been a part of or witnessing. There's now a group of men and women who are assigned to deal with charges against a former president of the United States of America. The first time that any former president has been charged with criminal. What are we living through? What are these moments like?
I sat here and I thought about the notion of, because I can picture it, because I know the courtroom, I know 100 Center Street, I'm visualizing these jurors going into the jury room and deliberating. And I think that there is a degree of poetic irony because our judicial system sits in many respects as a bedrock to what democracy is and what the guardrails of democracy are. And here we have someone who has sat literally at the peak of power in our country, who is now on trial, not necessarily for some of the other things that he's been accused of, but at the same time, someone who many would regard as having a direct hand in attempting to dismantle democracy. And so you have this space that is dedicated for the preservation of an institution that Donald Trump, by most accounts, attempted to tear down. And while he's not on trial for that here, the notion of accountability in a space where we are a government of laws, not of men, is critically important in this moment. The gravity of this moment cannot be overstated because what it says and what it's supposed to say, it encapsulates everything that we say about the strength, the protections, and the guardrails that exist within our democracy. And that's just really phenomenal.
I'll note that Judge Merchan is having the alternates stick around. They've left the courtroom, but his message to them before leaving that courtroom is, you've been with us for a long time. Every single one of you has been engaged. You're not going to be excused just yet. We're not done with your jury service. We're also going to ask you to please hand in your cell phones. We'll figure out another way to keep you guys entertained. And then the alternates departed the courtroom as of 11:30. So they'll be sticking around because...
That's interesting to me because the defense has to consent to, if something happens to a sitting juror, that they be replaced with alternates. And typically the defense says, Judge, you can let the 6 go home. So there's something missing here. I'm shocked that a defense attorney, particularly these defense attorneys, would consent. Because what happens if they're sent home? Suppose a juror gets sick. That happens. And they said they can't come back. That's called the end of the case. It's a mistrial. So
the defense would like that to happen.
Yeah,
you
get rid of that alternates. Thank you for your service. Goodbye.
It's the defense.
But that doesn't mean that the case is. But that doesn't mean he doesn't get retried.
No.
So
But
I just want to make sure that's clear.
Oh, right.
You get to retry a mistrial. Yes, definitely.
Exactly. It's not caused by the government.
No.
But I mean, it strikes me, Danny, that this is a precaution that the judge is taking here to ensure that this trial sees its proper ending.
Yes, but it is strange for the same reason that Catherine pointed out, is that now there is a risk without any alternates that you can get to a mistrial, something that could have been avoided when you keep around those alternates. So
no, but he's keeping them around.
Right.
That's the point.
Yes, that was what Catherine was pointing out. Now we know that he's keeping them around. That would be an unforced error if you had to mistrial just because you had no extra alternates. So that makes a lot more sense.
Because once those alternates are released, that's
It's the 12.
Yes.
And you hope that if you're a prosecutor, they're in good health and they show up and they deliberate.
Here's another thing, too. They knew they were alternates, which is also kind of an unusual thing here. In other jurisdictions, they are picked, but they don't know that they're their alternates.
Oh.
And the reason why is you want them to all be invested and engaged and listening, because there's a risk that if you know you're an alternate, then maybe you're checking in, maybe checking out, maybe wondering, what am I making for dinner? And so it's interesting that they know. But to Catherine and to Danny's point, having them there, though, safeguards against this idea that perhaps something could get derailed along the way. And so he's telling them, every single one of you has been diligent, but you're not excused. You will not sit in on the deliberations, but you have to stay here, and we're going to take your cell phones and your electronic devices. So they are a literal captive audience now while it's going on.
The life of an alternate is akin to just a captive audience. You go through all that work, they've paid all this attention, and then they go sit in a room. I've had one where there was only one alternate remaining. The poor guy had to sit in a room by himself and stare at a wall. I mean, it is an interesting part of our system that we ask people to give up their lives and sit through this. And on some level, they're probably expecting, boy, I get to participate in the outcome, but some do not. And that's our system. We need them in the bullpen in case of emergency. And emergencies come up. You'll lose jurors. Frankly, I thought at the outset this would be a case where you had a high level of juror attrition. And by the way, during jury selection, you did. There actually was attrition of jurors. But Judge Merchan has done an admirable job of keeping those jurors throughout the trial. So
and the jurors have clearly been very committed.
Yeah, what's interesting here, and this is apparently what's happening, is that the judge has told the jurors they can't start deliberations. First, if they're not all in the same room together, with juror 4 and 6 learning how to use a laptop better, they cannot deliberate. So apparently, because Merchan actually stopped mid-sentence when he said, while we wait for jurors in 4-6, I just want to go on the record, and he stopped. I want to make sure, he adds, that you're all consented to the jury receiving evidence in that laptop. Blanche has now consented to that.
Well, everything about this that the judge is doing is putting things as clearly on the record to preserve any notion of reversible error. Like, these are the things that folks will try and harp on if there is a conviction, to try and appeal and say that something about the instructions or the deliberations was, to borrow a term from the defendant, rigged. We know that this is not the case. Judge Merchan is a very seasoned judge. He's done hundreds of trials, if not thousands. And so he knows the importance of making sure that the record is clear and getting the type of consent and clarity on the record that's necessary. A lot of times people forget this. Lawyers, we know, for example, if it's not in the record, it doesn't count. Even pointing at someone, for example, that's why we sort of put the actual words on the record, and that's what Judge Merchan is doing, to give it as clear and unequivocal a memorializing, if you will, of the instructions as possible.
And this issue with the 4, sorry to interrupt, Hannah, but just the 4 and the 6, these two jurors, it's about the actual aspect of what's in a computer when you have such detailed and complicated ways of filing, of remembering it, and of actually accessing it. So.
This laptop moment is really kind of symbolic of what's great about our criminal justice system, is that these are really, truly people from all walks of life, bringing their common sense and life experience. And just like a sort of mini Justice League, when you need somebody to handle the computer, we got the software engineer and we got the other person who's a security. We got people with that particular level of skill. They didn't ask the English literature major to come over and help with the laptop. And it just shows that when you call upon people for their skill with the jury, these really are 12 people who come from all walks of life, who have different skills that they bring to the table. Some of those skills are literally brought to the table in the sense that they're going to the table with the laptop and learning how to use the laptop. And they'll bring those same life experiences into the jury room.